It's Carol Danvers. I'm going to make a little confession here. I rewatched the first Captain Marvel film shortly before going to see The Marvels, and while I never expected The Marvels to be good, I thought it would struggle to achieve the 2019 film stage of cancer. Captain Marvel was so ludicrously mischaracterized, so hilariously evil that it was really quite shocking. I thought, yeah, sure, The Marvels is going to be a fetid pile of old spunk, but is it really likely to top the first film for the damage it does to superheroes as a brand? Can they possibly make Carol Danvers any worse? And what do you know, they managed it. Carol Danvers in Captain Marvel is a shallow, cruel, arrogant, smug, vengeful, narcissistic bitch who belittles those around her.
How do we know you're not one of those shapeshifters?
Congratulations, Agent Fury. You have finally asked a relevant question.
Punishes people for minor indiscretions.
I'm offering to help you. Least you could do is give me a smile.
Here's a proposition for you. You're gonna give me your jacket, your helmet, and your motorcycle, and in return, I'm gonna let you keep your hand.
Which is about victimhood from a position of ultimate privilege.
I'm kind of done with you telling me what I can't do.
Attains impossible powers that she doesn't deserve through no positive act of her own. And is bestowed hero status while behaving like a villain, and is quite prepared to massacre people she has every reason to believe are the innocent victims of brainwashing. In that regard, she's a bit like Scarlet Witch in WandaVision, but just on a much larger scale.
They'll never know what you sacrificed for them. They'll never know what you sacrificed for them.
If you won't let us go, just let us die.
They'll never know what you
Shut the fuck up.
While Wanda eventually grokked vaguely that she might have done something a little bit wrong, and was in any case at the beginning of her descent into tragic villainy, Captain Marvel was never portrayed as anything less than the superpowered heroic victim of patriarchal tyranny, and everything she did was hailed as just and proper. That is a lot to outdo, but I think the Marvels just about managed it. The Marvels doubled down on the existing reasons for Carol's evil, and then it threw in a few more for good measure. So, to the preceding list we can now add, she abandoned the Skrull before she'd found them a safe new planet, breaking a promise that she alone was in a position to fulfill, and violating their trust with significant repercussions for those she'd left behind on Earth. She abandoned the Skrull in order to pursue a vengeance quest against Master Control, which she destroyed, even though she knew Master Control had brainwashed an entire civilization, and so had good reason to believe cutting off the head would lead to catastrophe. In doing so, she started a civil war that wiped out the atmosphere, oceans, and sun from the heart of Kree civilization, and she never thought it might be worth reigniting that sun to help them out, even though she kind of knew she'd made a mistake and she had the power to fix it. She abandoned her best friend who was dying of cancer, apparently never bothering to exploit her connection to the Avengers in pursuit of a cure. In doing so, she abandoned her best friend's daughter, to whom she had a duty of care. Not only did she never return to Earth to check up on said daughter, she also stayed away from, and so refused to assist with, several global disasters back on Earth. And she did all of this because she has a fragile ego and she didn't want to be seen as a failure. She abandoned Waterworld in the middle of an intense battle, even though she was married to the prince of the planet, and losing the battle would believably lead to the destruction of that planet and everybody who lived there. Though she probably cannot be blamed for the fate of planet Telex, even though the film seemed to think that she could be, she still acted recklessly there. Upon being told that the Skrull were in the middle of a peace summit with the Kree, and knowing the Kree view her as their ultimate enemy, she refused to heed warnings from Nick Fury and hopped over there to fuck things up. She's mighty lucky that the script makes no sense and the peace conference was a non-starter, because if there actually had been a chance of peace between these age-old enemies, then she would have been responsible for ending that chance, which would count as a second and even more consequential betrayal of the Skrull. Not only had she not found them a truly safe home, as she promised she would do, she'd have effectively re-instigated the Kree's attempted genocide. She decides belatedly that Darth Bender is motivated by vengeance against her specifically, though she has absolutely no reason to not know this already. She could have forestalled this had she reignited Haller's son, but she didn't. She can't be blamed for the writer's incompetence in only giving Bender that vengeance motive so late on in the movie, but sticking strictly in universe, Carol had no business not at least suspecting that this was Bender's motive, and so her refusal to tell anybody about it, whether the Skrull, the Waterwelders, or Nick Fury, ensured that none of these places, that we're told mean a lot to her, have the time to prepare defenses against the Kree attack. In short, Carol's actions are responsible for an immeasurable amount of pain, suffering, and destruction, which she had the power to remedy and did not. And the only way in which that seems to have impacted her motive in any way is that it defended her innate sense of self-importance, and she didn't want to appear diminished in the eyes of a loved one she'd already abandoned for reasons of ego. Carol Danvers is so far ahead of the field in this category, we might as well just call it now. Carol, you are the biggest douche in the universe. I don't care if the film thinks you can forgive all of the above with a quick hug and the invocation of family. No sane, rational, moral person would accept that proposition. Carol is a villain. She is a shallow, brash, arrogant, narcissistic, genocidal, dishonest cunt. And it's frankly hilarious that her simps accuse her critics of sexism. No, you catastrotards. The vitriol against her character is, if anything, understated. The very least you can say is that she deserves everything she gets. It's not that we're holding the female hero to a different standard, you see. It's that we're told they're better, and yet we see they're so much worse. Oh, but Tony Stark was arrogant too. Yes. And this is universally known to be a flaw in his character that he overcomes at immense and in the end the ultimate cost. If Tony Stark had nuked 4 planets, he could not be forgiven with a quick hug. He could not be forgiven. Had he done so while still being portrayed as a hero, everyone would quite rightly view the filmmakers as moral perverts, and yet Captain Marvel is still held up as a straight-out hero despite having a vastly higher kill count in terms of innocent lives than pretty much any villain in the entire MCU. Hell, she might even have a bigger kill count than Thanos, since most of Thanos' victims came back to life. There is no promise Carol will keep, no virtue she embodies, no peace she will not shatter, and no problem of her causing she will fix of her own volition. In short, Carol, my dear, you are a psycho bitch from hell.